Hi, Robin. Hi, Lisa. Hi, United Vote. That was a new username. Hi, Heather. You're here early. Good. Sorry. I'm a little late, aren't I? Just a little late. Oh, I see my live. How are we? So I think I'm going to start coming in at, no, I'm glad you're early. It's just that sometimes I've seen you come in right before I'm getting ready to close off a live, and I just hate that for you because I know you're trying to, thank you, Melissa. Thank you. I just had somebody say, I've never seen you heard you use that voice on a video before. I kind of went off on the 10 Commandments. Go watch that video and make sure I still make you feel safe. I am so upset. Hi, Linda. Thank you for being here. I'm tired. I'm so tired of the hypocrisy of the Christians who are pretending that the having the 10 Commandments in the classroom, it has anything to do with morality. It has absolutely nothing to do with morality. This is about indoctrination. It's also about religious appropriation because that is still an active sacred scripture for the Jewish people and their Hebrew Bible. And as part of the new covenant, where you talk about Jesus's death, burial, and resurrection and ascension puts the Christians under the new covenant, but yet we're going to call this a moral code, that the very first thing is about having no other God before you, which is the Abrahamic God. This Abrahamic, which is Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, all follow that God. So, and that's the first. And that's the first commandment, but this is supposed to be about morality. This is supposed to be about morality. Why do you have problems with the 10 Commandments in the school? This is just about morality. I'm sorry, Heather, you had a bad day. And you can tell my face is red. Like, hey, sex educator. Thank you for being here. Drop your questions. Thank you so much. Already getting some likes. I appreciate that. Adrian, thank you so much for the follow. Hi. Whoa. Mods, I now have the chat up if you need me. Thanks. My hair's growing out. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm just growing it out. Can't decide what I want to do with it. My glasses are relatively new. Hey, Moral Atheist, how are you? I saved one of your videos. It's so busy. I'm so busy to try to get to all the content. I did like 3 hours of editing and recording, and I saw your video. I think that you stitched a video from the Reconstructionist. Hi, Salt's mom. Thank you. I'm flushed. I've been out in the sun. I was looking for somebody. Thank you, Sophia. Moral Atheist, yes, I'll be happy to talk about it. Yeah, that's the one. Can you go look at the profile? I don't like that at all. Go look at the profile and then block. Which video? Oh yeah. You did a good job with it. Moral Atheist. You did a good job. Yeah, Just Looking, that's what we do here. We create a safe space, and it's my platform. I can block whoever I want. You all who get offended that creators protect their platform is absolutely ridiculous. That you think you can come here with an agenda and someone is going to allow you to have whatever kind of rules that you want to create. No, that's called church. I know that that's what you're used to, but that's not what we do here. We create boundaries to create a safe space for the people who are deconstructing. So that's what's going to happen. So you're welcome to stay here and learn something, or if you have genuine questions that you want to ask, you can do that. I'm not mad. That's a typical thing that people say to women. Yes, Moral Atheist, let's talk about that. So, speaking with passion makes a woman angry. Speaking with passion makes a woman angry. See how often they say those things to men. They don't. That's how they... Thank you, Stacy. I saw that one coming too. So, Moral Atheist, you want me to talk about this? So I gotta stop being hysterical. Hysterical isn't funny, I hope. Can you please tell us? Yeah, thank you. Are you talking about the one I just did, Christine? Yeah, I went gloves on. It's just ridiculous, the hypocrisy. And I honestly believe that we're going to have to ramp up our language to call them out, because you have, first of all, they're trolling like crazy. I think a lot of live creators like myself are starting to catch on that they come here with an agenda. So thank you. Oh, hey, Poetic, how are you? If you're going to be around a minute, I'm going to invite you up, but I want to answer this one question when I get to it. But so it's really, really important that you share the live, you comment, and you like it to protect the integrity of the live, because we are seeing an uptick in the number of accounts that are getting reported for no reason other than we're out here advocating and telling and informing people and telling our truth. I never said that. Kid Ulysses, you are totally on the wrong. Thank you so much for sharing the live. You're totally in the wrong space. All you have to do is go look at my Israel-Palestine playlist. And you got me confused with somebody else. So let's talk about the 10 Commandments. So I did a video last week where I explained about, first of all, what they're trying to do with pushing the 10 Commandments is they want to get it to the Supreme Court. That's what they knew it was going to be challenged, because they're trying to get it to reverse a ruling from the 80s where, I think it was the 80s, but anyway, where they said that you cannot put the 10 Commandments in the public schools. So because they know that this SCOTUS is basically annihilating any federal law or regulation that mandates everything for across the country. So if we take it back to the states, what do you think is going to happen? The red states are going to immediately start implementing the Project 2025 agenda. So that's what they're trying to do. They knew it would get challenged, and it did. ACLU immediately filed an injunction so it won't go in, and it probably won't go in this next school year until SCOTUS takes it up in 25. But it's the start of it's the start of Project 2025. When you read what their agenda is, and indoctrinating children is a big part of that. Thank you so much for the gifts, and thank you so much for the shares, y'all. This helps so much. My goodness, you've already got me to 3,000 likes. I appreciate that. Now, what I said the other day when I was talking about the 10 Commandments, let me get something up for a minute. When the video I did today was about the morality. People wanted to challenge me because if you notice what these trolls are doing, they always have about 200 followers with no videos. None. And they come in to tell you like, well, this is just about the morality. Why would you have anything to do with this? Or when I'm talking about Project 2025, I'm overreacting. This is just a think tank. You're being delusional. Oh, you are overreacting. This is propaganda. This is conspiracy theory, which isn't any of it. It's very consistent, the way they're coming in and dropping their resistance to what you're saying. And that's all they're doing, is trying to pepper enough negative comments to make people think that that is a consistent message for the majority, and it isn't. So just the morality alone, if you look at the first thing that you should be concerned about when it comes to the 10 Commandments is, number one, this is replacement theology. This is replacement theology. Replacement theology is the fact that Christians have as their Bible what they call the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament is the Hebrew Bible, the active sacred scripture of the Jewish people. So Christians live under the New Covenant, which is because of Jesus's crucifixion, life, crucifixion, death, burial, resurrection, and ascension. He's the Messiah, right? God's son. So you're living under the new covenant. So why do you need to go back into what is Jewish scripture to put that into and call it a Christian doctrine to put into public schools? The Jewish people have nothing to do with this. This is all Christian nationalists who want to do this because they see this as a harmless segue because so many people recognize the 10 Commandments. And they say it's for morality, even though the first commandment says, thou shalt have no other God before me. So what God are we talking about here? We're talking about the monotheistic Abraham God that's the founder of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. There's no room for any other God there. So immediately, the argument that this is about morality goes right out the window with the first commandment. Then when you look at the Sabbath, which is really where the hypocrisy begins, because the Sabbath is a Saturday holy day for the Jewish people, but Christians now have it on Sunday. So which is it here? Well, immediately we're going to start scrambling and rationalizing and negotiating with the Bible because we're talking about Sunday as being the Christian Sabbath. So which one is it? There's a little confusion there, right? And then when you put that with the honor thy father and thy mother, which clearly is a reinforcement of patriarchal structure, but under the Old Testament law, disobeying your father and mother and dishonoring your father and mother and disobeying the fact that if you work on the Sabbath, both are punishment by unaliving. Then you put in the fact that you have talk about no graven images. What about that golden statue that they made of Trump? So the hypocrisy is screaming out loud. And one person who said, here, look at this, GT. So what's wrong with honoring your father and your mother? Do you see this? This is a perfect example of cherry picking one of the commandments and not looking at the entirety. This has nothing to do with morality. You cannot say, look at me and expect me to start standing and debating an apologist who wants to try to hold on to this this narrative that the 10 Commandments in the classroom is about morality. It isn't. It has nothing to do with morality. It has everything to do with Christian indoctrination. And in order for them to do that, they have to do it through religious appropriation. Because if they're living under the new covenant, then they should have just been looking at some kind of New Testament scripture, but that would have been too controversial, right? Everybody recognizes the 10 Commandments, and it's going to be safe because it's about morality. What's wrong with honoring your father and your mother? What's wrong with not unaliving? What's wrong with not stealing? What's wrong with not coveting? That's what they're all going to come back with. When there are plenty of secular or other spiritual or religious traditions that have less controversial commandments. And why just those 10, y'all? There's over 600 commandments in the Old Testament. 600. Why those 10? And what are you going to do with the other 600? Because they all kind of build on top of each other. But no, you think that this is about those 10 commandments just being there as a moral code. And someone's going to come back at you and say, well, it's only about honoring your father and your mother. What's her problem with that? Like I said, this is about Project 2025. These are the first parts of it. This is when you go back and you look at as early as 2015, when Mike Pence, who was the governor of Indiana at that time, nobody knew who Mike Pence was. He was on no one's radar as a leader, except he was a very strict evangelical, and he was our governor. He tries to pass this law called the Freedom from Religion Act. And standing around in a secret signing, and he's standing around all these Christians, and he's smiling, and all these Christians are standing around him, and he's smiling. Within minutes of him signing that, the backlash was severe. So severe that corporations started saying, we're not building here. We're not going to put any money in Indiana. Conferences, conventions, because one of the things that Indianapolis has is this amazing infrastructure that makes it really attractive for conventions and conferences and things like that. People love the downtown because everything is walkable. People started pulling out of conference agreements. They immediately said, we are not going to be a part of this, because this act, even though they tried to paint it once again, let's make sure, just like Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh sat there and said, Roe v. Wade is established law. Roe v. Wade is established law. And the reason these Christians have no problem with looking at your face and lying to you is because you are not part of the chosen. And as not part of the chosen, you can lie to people. You can rationalize because you're of the world. That's why I say that if you see a business card with somebody that's got John 3:16 on their business card, I wouldn't do business with them. Because they're going to immediately know that if you don't recognize the fact that that's code, you're going to get highly likely, and I've got stories. I don't tell them all, but I'm getting really close here. So anyway, Mike Pence, it exploded because the backlash was so severe on how much revenue was going to be lost as corporations and groups said, we aren't coming near Indiana, because the way that law was written, it made it very clear that if somebody was at an Indiana Pacers game as a ticket holder and a person came in with their spouse, and one was, and they were same-sex partners, they could deny you entry because it was against my religion to do business with you. And they would say, oh, it never meant that. It absolutely meant that. It meant businesses could deny. It was who was the person in Tennessee who denied the marriage license? What was her name? I mean, she became like the rock star. Yeah, Kim Davis. She was ordered to pay $100,000, by the way. She'd been married 4 or 5 times, but anyway, she had the better moral code of everybody else because she denied a same-sex couple their marriage license. That's exactly what they were going to do. Well, all of a sudden, Indiana realized they'd made a mistake because they came out of the gate too hot. They knew exactly that was a precursor to what Project 2025 was going to do, but they came out of the gate too hot. All corporations and people and all kinds of activist groups called them out. So they came back and they reversed it. And they watered it down to the point where it's almost meaningless. I have a country girl. I have a video tagged about mine, and it's really a broad assumption to think that only Christians are reverends. There's many denominations, there's many religions, there's many even spiritual communities that have different ordination credentials, and mine is ordained interfaith interspiritual. I forget. Lindbergh. These are Lindbergh. Thank you, Julie. So that's how Mike Pence, the good old governor of Indiana, got on the radar of Donald Trump. That law was passed in 2015, and what happened a few months later? He was named Donald Trump's running partner. He was named vice president. So that is what happened. So you have to start, when you start putting all these building blocks together, every time they try to tell you you're overreacting, you're not. Every time they can look you in the eye and say, well, that's not what it's about, that they can do it with what they think is a clear conscience, because they have no guilt whatsoever in lying to people, because in their mind it's hastening the kingdom of God. They believe that that's backed in scripture, that that kingdom of God can be hastened by their actions. That's why Mike Pence, who has actively said that there's nothing wrong with dominionism, which means you can annihilate the earth's resources. It doesn't matter what we do with the animals in the water. It's all going to be destroyed anyway, as part of apocalypse, before God returns and reigns for 1,000 years. It's all good. It's all good. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to treat people with respect. We don't have to do anything. So moral atheists, that was a long way around, but that is my problem, because what you see is also them not being honest and forthright. So when somebody comes in here, no, he is not LDS, he's evangelical. He's evangelical through and through, and I think a conservative. Conservative fundamentalists are usually, they're defined, I don't know which one he is, but anyway, fundamentalists are usually defined by the type of Christian that says, I'm a Christian, you're gay, you're not invited to my church. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. Something about you is we find so abhorrent and egregious that we don't even want you in they're just going to flat out tell you they don't want you there. Conservatives and evangelicals are going to be a little bit more strategic about it. They're going to be the ones that'll say that you are loved, welcome everybody. We love everybody. We just love everybody, but we don't have to love their, quote, lifestyle. So sure, they can come into our church and they can tithe and they can sing and they can volunteer all their time, but don't you dare ask us to baptize you. Don't you dare ask us to officiate your same-sex wedding. Don't you dare ask to be ordained as clergy. That all is gate-kept. That all is gate-kept. What's a big lie, Lady Tamara? I'm not doing any battles. Yeah, we will take their money for sure. Do I have any other questions, mods? I know I went on a rant. Okay. Poetic, I'm looking for you. Yes, thank you, Amber. It was Kentucky. Okay, sorry about that. You're right, it was Kentucky. Decline. Can somebody block that person who keeps asking me to... Oh, lady, okay, thank you for the clarifications. They are lying, and they don't have any problem with lying. Their conscience is clear. You were taught that was okay. How you treat people that you see out in the world and how you treat your congregational members are two different things. That's why Mike Johnson can get up and say the most ridiculous things and pretend. That's why they're buying into this lie about the election. I don't want to say that. Let's see. Poetic, I saw you. I'm coming up. I'm bringing you up.
Hey, Rev Karla, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
And I want to answer one question or thing. Anna, thank you. I know someone said, Heather, it's good to see you, sweetie. Come back and see us. Anna says, thank you for your rant. Someone mentioned on my video that I just posted that they'd never seen me speak that way. Obviously, I have it in me. And I think at this point in time, just like Marjorie Taylor, the fact that they consider Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says she's proud to be a Christian nationalist, and she is the most vile human being. Let's just admit it. She is. Anybody that's aligned with that, then it tells you what this is. And anybody who's not talking about Project 2025, Amber, Anna, I'm in Indiana too. I just posted it, Storm. Okay, Poetic, thank you.
You're welcome.
Poetic, how are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Thank you for having me up.
Well, before we chat, I just want to let everybody know because I one day you came in here and you dropped wisdom. So thank you, Ginger, for the gifts. You dropped wisdom because I've been talking and teaching about forgiveness for a long time and how it's taught in the church versus the way that what it really is, and oftentimes what we're taught is something that basically keeps us compliant. And you said it's about acceptance, that when someone apologizes to you, it's about acceptance. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I can't even take credit for that thought. That thought was brought to me via some communities that my platform intersects on this app. So I'm grateful for that. Um, the conversation that brought that thought to me, they were just asking, what is what does it mean to forgive someone? And this creator suggested that, if someone is coming asking for forgiveness and they aren't sincerely acknowledging the harm, there's no corrective action, there's no steps to make something better, then this creator suggested that that person isn't asking for your forgiveness. They're simply asking for your acceptance. They're asking for you to accept the fact that this is what they do, this is what they have done, and essentially they're asking you to no longer hold them accountable for it.
Yes. And it's not even, it's forced. It's, I mean, in most time, and the way this came up for me, this past week I was teaching in someone else's group, and someone asked about forgiveness because her mother, she said that her mother sometimes just says the most ridiculous things, very hurtful things, and then thinks that because she just says, well, I asked God for forgiveness and I'm forgiven, so that means you have to, and just leaves it. Like, doesn't matter how many landmines she set, doesn't matter how many things she hurt. This belief that she's covered by the grace of God, that means that her children have to accept it for what they are. And they were really struggling with it because it meant that they had to just go right back into relationship, and it was really struggling. So I was able to talk about that and talk about how this concept of forced acceptance, you have that she feels like she has to accept this because her mother is demanding it, even though she's saying, well, I'm sorry and God has forgiven me, so you have to forgive me. Like, it's non-negotiable,
Mhm.
without thinking at all about the damage that it does. And forgiveness is always about the healing that we do, and restoration of relationship may happen, but it isn't necessarily the priority. And I always like to pause here and say, I'm recognizing there are some people who can't afford to leave if it's a, it's an abusive situation, but finances don't allow, or there's no safe space for that person to go, or just whatever circumstances in your life, you have to still get along with that person who's harmed you in some way. I recognize how hard that would be. But yeah, I mean, it helps so much. So I just wanted to bring you up and
Yeah.
and say thank you for that. Was there anything that you wanted to ask or something else that you wanted to add from today?
No, no thanks needed for that thought. Again, it wasn't originally mine, so I'm happy to share it. I'll just say this: since I started deconstructing and thinking outside of the box in terms of, the theology that I was raised in and under, and how I approach spirituality and all of that. One of the biggest things that it allowed me to do was to gain a sense of autonomy that I never had. If someone did something knowingly wrong to me and asked me for my acceptance, not my forgiveness, I was never in a position, I wasn't raised in a position, I didn't have the autonomy to say, no, I don't forgive you. Even if forgiveness was something that would benefit me, even if it was about me and the healing inside and all of that stuff, I understand the perspectives in regard to that, but I still never felt like I had autonomy to say, no, I don't forgive you. So through this deconstructing process, understanding the power of me, of you know my love, my forgiveness, my acceptance, and it's one of the things that's been the most enlightening for me. And now, when I do forgive someone, it means that much more to me.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I so appreciate that. Anytime you're here, say hi if you have a minute. I'd love for you to come up.
All right, thank you for having me up. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, anytime, my friend. Um, Tiffany, is religious trauma always going to hang around? So trauma, hey, snap back now. How are you? I don't know if you missed my rant about the Ten Commandments. You might have, but you could go see my video on it. I kind of took my guard down a little bit. Um, Well, drummer, I'm going to bring you up, but I've also been told by some people you're no longer requesting. I'll bring you up in a minute if you'll behave. But I trust them. I don't see all the comments, and my mods have full control over my account to create this safe space. And if anybody in here, because remember, we're dealing with a lot of people who are healing from religious trauma and religious patriarchy. And if someone's dropping some things in here that sound like it could be triggers, we have to be really careful. Now back to Tiffany is religious trauma. So when we talk about trauma, trauma is something that hi Jezebel. Trauma is oftentimes with us as some kind of wound that we're holding onto. So the same can be said about religious trauma. So while we do the work to heal so that the triggers are less, so we're trying to create a life where we can stay in this somatic range. And the more work we do, the bigger that range gets. If we don't do a lot of work, then we're going through life with a very short range, and something can throw us off, and we are just triggered beyond rage, or we just hit the bottom where we're immobilized and we can't move. And probably some of you have already experienced that. Thank you all for the likes. Y'all are doing great here. I really appreciate it. But so the more we do that work, the bigger that range gets. I know this is oversimplified, but this is just the way to help define it. So when we've experienced some kind of harm, and we know that it has led to some kind of traumatic trauma that we're holding on to, then the more we do, the less likely we're going to come out of range. But that doesn't mean that the trauma isn't there. So for us, what does that look like? Well, we create, I hope this is helping, Salt's mom. So we create boundaries, and we make sure that we've done a lot of work around the people in our lives, because for so many of us who came from these really defined patriarchal structures, which is a lot of what we have in America, whether it's societal, educational, family, and religion. So the people in our inner circle did not belong there. Most of the people in that circle were people who were there to keep us compliant and not necessarily there for our well-being, even though we love them when we think that they're there for our well-being. So that creates a whole other lot of healthy dynamics that we have to work through. So we create things that we say, oh no, these people that are now in our inner circle have mama ego wings so big that they're going to protect us, and they can also be objective. They can also be that we can be accountable to them, and we start to work on those boundaries of who we have in our lives. We create really high walls and really deep moats around some people that we know that can't that we shouldn't be around, and we try to be careful about the situations that we're in. For instance, I don't care. I am never going to a evangelical pastors conference. Okay, so that's a really, really crazy example, but you get what I mean. I'm never going there. There's not going to be any reason, and I know I'm going to come out of range. Just like I did not come out of range today. What I did was come back very forcefully to say, you aren't going to come in here and redefine. I created a really, really strong boundary. I really created a strong boundary that says you are not going to come in here and tell me how I'm going to hold the space, and you're not going to say I said something that I didn't, and you're not going to pretend like I gaslit you on my content. I'm speaking to the people who are healing from religious trauma and are deconstructing. I don't give a flip what Christian Karen thinks about my take on it, unless you're trying to put a spin on it that's going to make people think, well, did she really answer the question? Yeah, I answered the question. I answered the question, and what you're trying to do, this is what a lot of people do, and why religious trauma is one of the hardest ones to do. And you've even, Mary Beth, so, because this is what they're trying to do. They're like the person who came in here earlier and said, well, what's wrong? When I was talking about the 10 Commandments, somebody come in and said, well, what's wrong with honoring your father and your mother? What? Oh my goodness, she's so angry. What could she possibly have wrong with? What's her issue with that? She's so angry. That is them spinning a narrative. And they're trying to force you to enter the conversation at their level. That's what Christians do. So when they come in and they drop Bible verses, or they try to tell me whatever Bible verse they want from the King James Version versus their translation, I'm not doing that. I deconstructed from that. So your starting point isn't my starting point. So if that's the only conversation that we can have, is that you telling me what Romans 6:10 says, I'm not going there. Because first of all, I never worshiped Paul. And a lot of times his theology is different than Jesus's. If y'all really studied the Bible, but you don't, you want to come in and cherry pick one scripture and think you're going to flex it over me. I don't think you realize the power of deconstructing to the point when no one else is going to take my spirituality away from me. I now understand that when organized religion decided that the best way to control the congregation was by gaslighting them and using other spiritual manipulative tactics, our well-being became minimized. It was always about perpetuating the institution. Now, I'll be the first to say that please do not let somebody come in and say not all Christians. I've got lots of friends that are here and supportive of the work I do. But from that point, if you're willing to have a conversation with me to talk about the harm that religious patriarchy does, what Christianity should look like for the new communities that are awakening, because it's not, yes, I am an example of the type of Christian that's deconstructing. But friends, it's happening across the United States, and it's not just evangelicals that are deconstructing. There's something happening, and people are awakening to more of a community need than just saying that we want request to join timeout after. Oh, yeah, I'll do it right now since I saw your comment. Sorry, I should have had you come up earlier. I came in hot. Yes, Carolina. Hi, Carolina. How are you? It's so fun. It's so fun to see a subscription there. Thank you so much for your support. I saw another creator the other day say, "Oh, I got to get in there and do something." I am. I promise. I just need some more hours in the day. That's all. We're getting there. What do I have numerous videos on? Do I need to answer a question? Oh, deconstructing. Yeah, I have a whole playlist. Thank you so much for your support. I have some people waiting to join. All right, we're gonna do this. I don't know how long this is gonna last. We'll see. Drummer, I brought you up. How are you?
I'm doing well. And how are you?
I'm well, thank you. So I know that you said that you were almost getting muted. What are your thoughts?
I think your moderators mistakenly thought that I was criticizing you. I was actually addressing the Bible thumpers in the comments.
Okay, well, I did see Dob Views, and Dob Views was also pushing back a little bit on something. So maybe it's something that you said that made people think that you were maybe not agreeing. Are you a deconstructing Christian, or what are you?
Well, I embrace all religious faiths, and I studied a lot of religion in college, and I studied a lot of the early followers of Christ and the Gnostics and so forth. And what I find surprising is a lot of Christians these days don't really take the time to study why certain gospels went into the canon. We know that the Gnostics were privy to a lot of the secrets that were taught by Jesus, but Irenaeus, who was a bishop, did not want the pivotal truths to go into the Bible. And so that created the Orthodox Church, which, as we know today, became the Bible.
Okay, I am gonna stop you there. Because yes, there's a lot that goes into how the Bible came together, I believe, in the 3rd century?
Yes.
But have you ever gone into Thinker's Life?
I have not.
Okay, write this down. N is in Nancy, growth. N is in Nancy, growth. She is a pastor's daughter, was in the mission field for 5 years, started deconstructing about 5 years ago, and her path of deconstructing took her. Thank you, Dob Views. I appreciate that. I did see one of your comments. Her path took her to study this. So she goes live for like 12 hours at a time and really, really breaks this down. So I don't have the space here. Not that I don't appreciate what your views are on this, but for many people who are deconstructing here, we stick with what this religious patriarchy and religious trauma caused us. And so I highly encourage you. I think you would, number one, you're going to enjoy it. And that might be a space where you can find somebody who can enter into a dialogue with you on that.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's Nancy Growth. Nancy?
No, I'm sorry. N is in Nancy. So it's just the letter N, growth. And for the rest of you, Thinker. And she usually goes live at night, and she goes all night long, and you'll see her till about 11 a.m. the following day. She's been a little inconsistent because of things that have been going on. But please, 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 it's a wonderful conversation. And that's where you're really going to be able to break down some of how the Bible was put together and the structure and the context and things like that. So yes, snap back down. She absolutely is. And I love that she's doing that. I take notes. And also, drummer, do you know Dan McClellan?
I've heard of him. Yes.
Dan McClellan is amazing, and I have to say this because I'm going to fangirl a little bit. I got to review his upcoming book.
Oh, you did. Nice book, huh?
Oh my gosh, y'all.
Yeah.
I got to see it. Our publishers are the same, and I got to see.
One last thing I wanted to ask you is, did you ever come across pewresearch.org?
Oh, I use it all the time.
They show that the membership of Christianity is declining, which is not a shocker because more people are beginning to realize that they don't have to find whatever salvation inside the church. They're able to find it on their own. And I believe that's why it's declining even more and more and more. So, but anyway, I appreciate you allowing me to come
Drummer,
up.
one other thing before you leave. Have you ever read anything from John Shelby Spong?
I have not, but I have heard.
Okay, so one of the first books I've read of him, he passed in 22, but one of the first books I read of his was Christianity Must Change or Die. Why Christianity Must Change or Die.
Yes.
So I would encourage you to go read that, and also Jesus for the Non-Religious. Those would be two books. And if you've never read Bart Ehrman, Ehrman, Sky Moon, you're next. How Jesus Became God. Because it sounds like you're very much in the scholastic part, and that's wonderful, wonderful stuff. Both Spong and Ehrman both have blogs, archives of blogs. So go spend on that time. And when you go to InGrowth, InGrowth's website, she'll have all kinds of resources for you.
Okay, sounds good. And I'd like to apologize to your moderators if I came across as offensive. That was not my endeavor. It was to address the Bible thumpers in the comments and everything, because I support your live. I love your live.
Thank you.
And
we are very, very protective here. Very protective. And my mods are awesome, which, by the way, Lynette's in Rev Karla's shop, so y'all tell her happy birthday today.
Happy birthday. Okay.
Thank you, drummer. Come back and see us. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And we're going to bring up Sky Moon. Shiggles, I see you in there. Just hang on.
Hello.
Yeah, what's that about? What happened? Go ahead, Sky Moon. I'm sorry, I just saw a comment.
My name is Stephanie, and I was recommended to your page by my friend Chad. He's high priest. He said I reached out to him because I was really struggling with Christianity, and I kind of had a lot of trauma from, not trauma, but like a lot of I just fell out of it because I was struggling really bad. And recently I've been watching your videos, and I really myself coming deconstruction too, and your videos has been really helping me. I feel really peaceful now because your videos been really helping me, and I just wanted you to know that.
Good. I really do appreciate that. A lot of people don't realize when you're coming out of Christianity. Thank you for the follow, Ruby. When you're coming out of religion, and for most of us that here it's Christianity, your feelings are so unvalidated, and we're so learned to detach from them. Because for so many of us, the Christian-centric model that we had us focusing everything on Jesus. Jesus would supply. Jesus was our comforter. Jesus was our guide. Turn to Jesus. You're not praying hard enough. And when you lose that system through which you have been funneling your whole life and existing, then what's your support system? And then when somebody offers you a mirror on what deconstructing looks like, and all of a sudden you realize like, oh, that's what spiritual manipulation. I was
Yeah.
gaslit. I was taught spiritual bypassing. That was abusive tactics. And then being able to validate that, like, no, it really wasn't. It wasn't that bad, because once again, patriarchy teaches us that we endure whatever we endure for the sake of the patriarchal structure. And so nothing about our well-being is ever prioritized. So then all of a sudden you find a community and you find people who are teaching that. It can feel overwhelming, but it can also lead to a lot of healing. Hi, Liza, I'm so glad you're here. User 9303, I know that. Sky Moon, I'm going to answer this question really quick. I know someone who fought years to get their disability, and it was over when they finally got it in arrears. It was like $35,000. And the church, he said that he got it, and the church sent him a notification that, hey, where's that 10%? God answered your prayers. Where's your 10%? It's crazy. And that's not even, like when we talk about tithing, and again, this whole old covenant and new covenant, but how this type of Christianity is so quick to reach back into Old Testament scripture when it serves them. There's no tithing. There's no requirement for tithing inside Christianity, but it just seems to make sense. It's convenient. Sky Moon, thank you so much for coming up. Come back and see us and let us know if you ever have any questions. The mods are amazing, and come back and see us and let us know how your progress is.
I do have one question. If that's
Sure.
okay. I'm sorry. I was struggling with like the Bible and everything, and I'm not sure like on your thoughts about that, because I've been, that's one thing I've been really struggling lately, and I just wanted to know how I should go about that, if that makes sense.
You're saying, Shiggles, if you wouldn't mind to mute until I just want to get you up here so it didn't time out on you. But Sky Moon, you're asking if the Bible, like the Bible is not working for you right now. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I'm just confused about if because about, sorry, I'm not explaining this right. I'm sorry. I'm just not sure if I should read the Bible or not read the Bible, and then that's what my struggle was with.
Okay. So, well, first of all, you're doing a great job asking your questions. And I know it's hard to get up here sometimes and share your heart, and you're in a public forum, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
So it's not uncommon. It is not uncommon to put the Bible aside during your early deconstructing phase. Now, but I'm going to say that with a caveat, because there's no one way to deconstruct. It just seems to help, because for so many of us, the scripture was weaponized. So when we know that there are, many of us didn't know this, that there were so many different manuscripts, and there has never been in existence one complete manuscript that said, oh, here, let's just copy this and we have the Bible. That's not it at all. Manuscripts have been added, deleted, revised. Oh, thank you, Stacy. I did not know that. Added, deleted, revised, and so that what we have is just a certain translation. And depending on which translation you have, scriptures can be really, really different. So now, let's say you have this translation that your faith has been reliant upon, and then the interpretation then is up to the church leaders. So depending on your church experience, then those interpretations are going to be subjective. They're going to make sure that they reinforce the theology and the doctrine that's inside that one denomination or one church's belief or whatever that is. So then you start to deconstruct and you only have this one singular experience. And it's really confusing because when you pick up and you read the Bible and you know, like, well, wait, that verse says this. And I remember when my pastor preached about this. So I'm a sin, I'm broken, I'm flawed, and I'm going to go to hell for not going to church. But yet I feel like I'm being invited into this deconstructing mystery and I really want to experience this. Then sometimes it's best just to let that go because deconstructing is spiritual. Now, again, this is something I say all the time. I feel like we need to write this down. I want to get to the point with these lives. When I say deconstructing is not what you believe at the end of your journey, I want somebody to be able to put in the comments what I'm going to say next. I don't know if we're there yet, but I want to know if when I say at the end of your journey, which many people just consider deconstructing their spiritual practice now, but at the end of your deconstructing, it's not what you believe, it's who you become. So when I'm talking about belief now, I talk about I would want you to release any belief, number one, that no longer serves your highest good, but number two, convinces you of your moral or spiritual superiority. And you think that because of that moral or spiritual superiority, it gives you the right to judge others and to vote for people who will annihilate their rights. That is religious oppression. And if that's your view, then you, by definition, are a religious oppressionist. There's no reconciling an authentic, true spirituality in that. That's all physical. That's all about this feeling like somehow you're entitled to tell other people how they're going to live. So that takes some deconstructing because for so many of us, we came from this place where the Bible was literal, the Bible was infallible, it's inerrant, there's no mistakes, and it's written right there so I can tell you how to live your life. And so that is a lot of unpacking. That takes a while. And if that has been your experience of the Bible, then putting it down for a hot second is a really good idea. Because when you start reading, when you start reading other scholars and you come into these deconstructing spaces, like we mentioned Dan McClellan, Brandon Robertson, In Growth, Deconstruction Justin, these are people who really are going to unpack that Bible from that place. They were evangelicals. Dan was Mormon. So you are looking at people who very much had that kind of experience, and they're gonna help you unpack that. Then you're gonna go, if you want to go look at my book review, read Rob Bell's What is the Bible? It's an easy read. And it can break it down in simple terms, telling you what the Bible is.
Yeah.
So we don't specifically spend time with that here, other than I might pop in a verse or so, but they all are doing that. And I'm taking care of like the activism, educating on what Christian Nationalism Project 2025, healing from religious trauma, and helping you reclaim your spirituality. I very much would, the path that works for me is spiritual but not religious, being unchurched, and also like leaning towards the mystical, where you don't have to define things as strictly or as rigidly as I did when I was an evangelical, but that might not be the path for you. And so you kind of discover that as you go along. So what I would say, now that I've gotten all that out, is if it feels like it's in conflict with your deconstructing, put it aside. Because it could feel like a weapon. If it was used like that in your experience, then I would put it aside for a while and spend some time with other scholars and writings and then come back to it.
Okay, thank you so much. That actually was really helpful.
You're welcome. I'm going to move on to Shiggles, but come on back and see us sometime.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Okay. Shiggles, hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Are you deconstructing?
I am very emotional and very raw right now. So I just want you to know that. I want everybody to know that this is very difficult for me, okay?
Okay, I want everybody just to pause real quick and let's put some hearts in the comments. And those are all for you, Shiggles. Everybody just, we're going to send you love. We've all been here. We know that feeling of just feeling like, oh, who am I if I'm not what the church says I am? And where do I
Well,
belong if that's not my spiritual community? And what, how do I define myself and
well,
what
that's
I believe?
I'm not actually deconstructing like some of y'all are. My abuse started when I was 4.
Okay, hold on just a
Um,
second. I want to pause
I'm
for a
gonna be
second.
really quick.
No, I know, but I want to be careful because some of
I'm
what
not gonna
we
get
may,
into it.
okay, I just want to make sure, I want to
Yeah.
give it
No, no, I'm not gonna get into it. I promise.
okay. All right,
Um,
thank you.
you're welcome. Um, I'm 52 now. My brother, we used to be so close, and he was part of a lot. Okay. He grew up military and went in to be a pastor,
Mm,
and he's done nothing but tell me to not bring up the past. Don't look at the past, Sharon. That won't get you anywhere. Only look at the future. Looking at the past is only painful. Yes, it is very, very painful. And I know he only wants me to not look at the past and only at the future because he's the one hiding from
Can
the
I,
truth.
okay, can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
Are you still in church?
No,
Okay.
no.
Is Christianity your religious heritage?
I was brought up Baptist. My
Okay.
brother's non-denominational. Um, um, but it's kind of the church part isn't necessarily about my past. It's kind of my current
Okay.
because he's a pastor and he refuses to have any type of understanding. When I've asked him, I've begged him, I've pleaded, just hear me. Please just hear me. Please
Yeah.
just understand me. Stop telling me to go seek other people for help. I needed my brother to hear me. And I needed not my pastor. I needed my brother.
Yeah, okay. Let's take a breath.
I know. I'm okay. It's
I
just
know,
very
I
raw.
understand. I can feel it, but I do
Um
want to ask you how you are supported. Are you in therapy?
I've I have a best friend, and she's had her uh, different types of abuse. And her and we just connect, and we have been each other's counselors and therapists, and it is a beautiful, beautiful friendship. And we're growing and we're healing together. And I believe that this morning that I had my spiritual awakening, and that's what this emotion is.
Jolene, I agree. Um,
But
so I want to say something, but I also have to put a disclaimer on it because
yes,
want you to know that I offer spiritual care. And so nothing I say from this point forward is to take the place of a licensed trauma informed therapist.
I understand.
And what I hear as far as any type of essay as a child is trauma. And
Yes,
I absolutely, having someone in your inner circle who is not only your advocate, who's your warrior, is like actually part of a support. Like if you were going to create a team for someone who's unpacking this kind of trauma. Thank you, Stacy. For anybody who's unpacking this type of trauma, you've got this, you've heard the metaphor of the stool for so long, but you've got your friend, your advocate, you have a spiritual care provider, and you have your licensed trauma therapist. So I'm no longer in practice. This is as close that we come, and we won't be able to go into as much as what we would if we were going to enter into a spiritual care relationship. but having that spiritual care and having your licensed trauma informed therapist. So because what when you're working with therapy, you're going to unpack some more things that then you can then take back with your friend and work together. Because one of the shenanigans, one of the first things that a therapist is going to tell you, that expecting something from the person who was possibly part of the abuse is might be something that's never going to happen,
Oh, yeah.
especially if they're still indoctrinated in that. So it's more about protecting you and looking forward and trying to create things that resources and boundaries and
And that's exactly what I'm doing. My biggest issue is that he used to have my back, and he used to protect me, and he used to understand. But when he turned over to the church, he abandoned me.
so
That's the pain that I suffer from. And when my videos that I made that I tagged you in,
I don't see a lot of the tags, so I apologize if I haven't
that's
seen.
okay. I just did it this morning.
Okay.
But they're basically me talking to him, because I've discovered that with TikTok, I'm not going to be silent anymore. I have a voice, and I'm going to share it.
Okay, I'm also going to tell you, I'm also going to tell you, because I've witnessed this, and I've also had spiritual care people who have started to tell their stories without support, and it didn't go well. Because
To be honest, I don't even care if it goes well anymore for them. I'm focusing on me now.
Jogo
And I'm
Pai,
not outing anybody. I'm not trying to out anybody. I
Okay.
just wanted to be heard. That's all.
you will. Shiggles, hold on just a second. Jogo Pai, I saw your comment, but we've had a lot of problems with trolls, so the mods are really, really going to look at every comment, and they're looking at it through the lens of suspicion. So I'm sorry that they're right now they're looking at. We've had a lot of people asking me those questions, and then it just turns ugly. So if you're still here in a minute, I want to spend time with Shiggles, but yes, I think they were answered. That I do have some videos where I talk about it, but Joel Going, or should I? I'm sorry, I should not have said that. If you got a new name, that was not right. Oh, I'd hope I didn't just mess up something for you. If you had to change your name for some reason, it was you. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Everybody ignore what I just said. Everybody ignore it.
Wait, what'd you say?
No, I'm talking.
No, I was kidding. Okay, I ignored what you said.
I got you. Shiggles, there is a Netflix. I don't know if you can watch it, but
I'm really at a good place.
okay.
Like, honestly, I am at a great
The reason
place.
why I think this might help you. Great photo, lovely life, and it's
seen it.
Okay, all
I've
right.
seen it. Trust me.
Here's the part I want you to. Here's the
My
part I
healing
want you to
journey
go-
has been deep, and that's what I keep trying to tell my brother. I'm not seeking help at this moment because I know where I'm at now.
Okay, but what I wanted you to see was how when Lynette, I just got a clock that it's 2:31, so I'm supposed to tell you happy birthday in a minute, because then it's officially your birthday. It's officially. She was born at 2:32. So one of the mods here is my daughter, and the other is my stepdaughter. So y'all,
Happy birthday.
they've got their attitudes are even more intense than mine. So that's why we don't play. We don't play here.
Nope. I watched last night on Amazon Prime. It was a documentary, and the name of it, I believe, was Related. If you haven't seen it, it's great. It's amazing.
I don't have a pen. Mods, can you get the name of that documentary? I can't. I don't have a pen at my desk. Oh my gosh.
But
All right,
it's a young lady on the same journey as all of us, trying to just heal and be heard for the first
Okay.
times in our lives.
Shiggles, what is it again?
Related, and it's on
Related.
Amazon Prime.
So the reason why I wanted you to go back and revisit the part where one of the victims goes back to the home where the abuse occurred, and it's Christians that live there, and he's a retired dentist now, and it's Christian. So she comes in, this victim comes in and is telling her story, and they knew the abuser. And there's a part where she tells her story and the man is looking at her like this.
Yep.
Anybody who's been indoctrinated into patriarchy, you know that smirk.
Yep.
You know that no matter what's going on in your life, no matter how much it hurt, you're not going to get any kind of restitution or acknowledgement. All he said to her was, you need to forgive.
That's exactly what he tells me too.
Because patriarchy must, and just like when I was talking about Poetic earlier, that is the cue that you are forced to accept the forgiveness, even though this isn't, he's not the one who did the abuse.
Right.
But he's telling her on behalf of the abuser, because it serves this man to reinforce this patriarchal structure. I saw that and I was like through the roof. Like, oh, and then to get up and violate her space by saying, we're going to pray for you, not asking. He just get up, grabbed her body. So it's like she has no control over her agency or agency over her body. And they start to pray. That once again is all about reinforcing the patriarchy. So your brother is now indoctrinated in that.
Yes.
And he's going to mirror back to you what he thinks your healing needs to look like, which is absolve him of anything. So it's called Great Photo, Lovely Life. It's really good, but it's also very intense. So I watched it from the perspective of also a victim of SA, but also from knowing that it had a religious connotation to it, and I wanted to see it, and it's exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yes, I have seen it, and I do have the knowledge enough to know that by them telling us, the church, telling us to just leave it in the past and only focus on the future, it actually silences victims, and the church hides the literal evil.
For sure. 1L, I noticed that Lynette, or QNL, sorry, I noticed that Lynette answered you, but yes, that's a great recommendation. Shiggles, please come back and see us sometime. I'm just going to end with, if it's within your financial resources to do so, please find a therapist who can help you unpack this, because they're going to be able to get you through. They're going to be able to set up more of a progressive strategy than what you're going to be able to do.
Honestly, I think this morning, I think that this is the finality of it all for me. I do think that this has been my spiritual awakening this morning, and I'm not going to let it eat me anymore.
Good.
I'm not. Today is the last day I will cry tears about my brother.
Sweetie, let them come as they need to. Ashley, the band Hennessy says, we hear you, we believe you, and you are safe here with this group. Very proud of you.
I thank all of y'all for comments and all that. I can't see them through the tears.
Well, so when you go down, make sure you see the hearts and everything that's been being said, because it's wonderful. Screenshot them, because it's wonderful the way they've created this space for you. So
every time I'm on a live and I try to read the comments, I end up just taking myself right out of the live. So
I can imagine. All right. Thank you so much. Come back and see us sometime. And
thank you for
best of luck on your healing journey.
Thank you for finally letting me have a voice.
Aww.
Thank you. You're the only one that's actually heard me.
Take good care of yourself, and please be gentle. Be gentle with yourself. This
ma'am.
This gonna
Yes,
take
ma'am.
time. It's gonna
Thank
take
you.
a
Thank you, all
it's gonna
y'all.
take a lifetime.
Yes, it does. It has.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Any have I missed any questions, y'all? Anything? We might wind this down. I'm gonna have to probably watch that video for a little bit. I think I made some. Thank you, thank you. Hey, it's me, Lorna. It goes all over the place. Oh, Ashley, I love you. Thank you so much. Yeah, you all did this. You all did this today. Virgil Gus says silent victims are the only kind tolerated in the church. That's 100% true. I don't have a movie recommendation yet, but that's a great idea. Really great idea. I'll try to get that taken care of along with all the other resource guides I want to make. You know that thing that says get lost for 30 days or something like that? Oh my, what I could do. 1946, the movie, absolutely. I just watched Bad Faith, the documentary. If y'all are wanting to understand, let me see. Let me see Cosmic Cries. Shiggles, can you tell us where you saw it? Because I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it here. Hey, Bob Chicago, thank you for coming in. Bad Faith, I watched it over the weekend. I've actually watched it twice. Yes, I did watch that. House of Hammer, I did. Yes, I watched it after you told me. It's like a series, right? The name of the Netflix documentary is, let me go back. Great Photo, Lovely Life. It's got, oh, I'm telling you what, when you watch that through the lens of unpacking patriarchy, watch that through the lens of unpacking patriarchy, not just what that man does to the victim, but what the mother does when she doesn't acknowledge the fact that she set her daughter up to be the victim, and how she handled it, and how many of us were taught to do that, to run, that you don't have to be accountable. If someone won't accept your apology, then you just run. Because patriarchy teaches you that all you have to do is say you're sorry. And because, like we were talking about before, acceptance is required. You have no choice. Because in that patriarchal structure, whether it's religion or our family, we're often taught that forgiveness is about the number one thing is restoration of relationship. That's how all of these church leaders and pastors have gotten away with abuse for so long. The system itself teaches those subordinate on that structure to be the victim. It teaches you, it prepares you. You know that word. I can't use it here. Oh, relative. It's called relative. Looks like Apple TV, Amazon Prime, YouTube, Roku, and is it Tubi or Tubby? I don't know how to say that. So that's a good one. And y'all grab that. Okay. Woo, that was a big, yes, it was. That series was crazy. Bye, Dob Views. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for holding the space today. I mean, you do amazing, amazing, amazing work. Moral Atheist, are you still here? For sure, Jensen. For sure. To be. Thank you, Jenny. Jenny. So y'all, if you haven't watched Restoration of Relationships Allows Everything to Continue, Keep Secrets, yeah. And the money rolling in. Yeah, go back and just research the Indiana pastor. where I went. Yeah, John B. Lowe, John B. Lowe of New Life. Why is it always a New Life Christian Church? I want to tell you something. Can I go on a rant about non-denominationals for a sec? Thank you for liking the live. Can we talk about non-denominationals? Are you like, no, we've heard it, Carla. We don't want to hear it again. Shiggles, that would be such a great idea if we had a spreadsheet for the resources. All right, you got it. So repeat love the guest in there by that name. Oh, I didn't see. Did I miss somebody? Thank you for the gifts. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, thank you, Jenny. I always have an opinion. You don't give pastor a microphone without having opinions, right? But several years ago, I think in the 70s is when you started to see a lot of the non-denominationals start to emerge. And the reason that you had that happening is because, thank you, Snap Back Down. I thought you'd be proud of that. Yeah, that's the other side of Rev Karla, that I'm over it. I'm so, and they're in the comments gaslighting me, talking about the morality. Sorry, y'all, I won't go off on this again. I'm sure. Snap back now. I went off on it as soon as I got here because I was still hot from that video. I mean, my face was red too. I was hot. But when people try to use those manipulative tactics that they are tuned in and experts on inside church, honey, don't bring it here. I'm not playing. Do not bring that here. I'm going to call you out, and I'm going to come back hard. Yeah, it was a TED Talk. We might have to clip that. What do you think? So the non-denominational started as there was starting to be pushback on churches' affiliations with denominations, specifically your fundamentalist evangelical type churches, because people were not so keen on the doctrine and the scriptural translations that talked about the infallibility, the patriarchal structure, all that stuff, that people were starting to feel like that was a little too rigid for them. So non-denominational, now get this, what that did was just create a new marketing gimmick, because most of those non-denominationals, not all of them, especially the mega churches, are still affiliated with their denomination. So most of that started with the Southern Baptist Convention churches. So, but people don't go on the website and read things about what they believe. People don't look on the website to make a connection that just because they hung a rainbow flag out front doesn't mean that they're really not affirming at all. That they don't spend time understanding that there's a difference between a welcoming church and an affirming church. They just see the rock band. They just see the pastor in jeans. They see the blacked out sanctuary. They see the coffee shop, because hey, who doesn't want coffee before church? And they see this amazing children's program that's just where they've invested thousands and millions to create a children's program that, like, I can come to church and my kids are taken care of. Why wouldn't I want to be a part of the church? And we are so cool. We're so modern. And this modern facade that they put on the church is intentional to give the feeling that they have advanced beyond some of the archaic theology of these denominations, when in fact, that theology is hiding right behind that black curtain on stage, right behind the rock band. It's still there. But people typically don't find out until they either want their gay son to be baptized, or they find out that they'll refuse to officiate a same-sex wedding, or that somebody they know is gay and it became ordained as clergy, and they invite them to come to the church to see it, and they're like, no, he's not going on stage. We're not going to allow any member of the LGBTQIA plus to be here on stage. They're just welcome to come to the church. So the big part of that was figuring out how to create a facade of a church that allowed people in, but gate kept membership. So in a way, how do you get them to fill the pews? So they would tithe. So they're still hearing the same message that the glory of God and the prosperity gospel is available to you if you do XYZ according to the sermon. So you're going to still want to give your money. You're still going to want to donate your time, because it's all about time and talent, right? So that you can do all of that, but just don't ask us to baptize you unless you're going to abstain from the sinful, quote, their words, not mine, lifestyle. So you see what a lot of times what you're seeing also, these non-denominations became like the building blocks for a lot of these mega churches, because people were leaving the smaller churches for the mega church because of the attraction of the money that was infused into the programs, the building, the rock band, all that stuff was attractive, especially to young America, because the demographics have been the same for the past 80 years. You can look at the demographics and see that the church is getting older and no new members are coming in. Well, what better way to get them in than to put 5,000 stinking Easter eggs in a helicopter and drop them out of the sky? I'm not even kidding. And then boast in the back room with the elders that you saved 25 kids that day. So you're out there in the parking lot also evangelizing at the same time. But nobody sees that, because the kids are so happy picking up the eggs, until you are so far into the indoctrination that you don't see how much that indoctrination has harmed your kids. Or you're complacent and you're a little lazy with your spirituality. And again, no judgment there, because a lot of people like, you know what, just tell me what to believe. Just tell me that I'm a good Christian, that I'm a good person, and I'm going to get to heaven. And if being in this sanctuary and giving you 10% of my money will do that, then I'm going to be happy with my life. The only problem with that is when I have people who come in here and they'll say things like, hey, it's not our church. We're awesome. We're awesome. And they have some like Trinity Harvest, First Calvary, City on the Hill, New Life. They got it all in the name. And they got buses that go out everywhere. And you know, they're welcoming, they love them. They even have a support group. They even have a support group for the LGBTQIA plus people. But and they have a coat drive every year. They are awesome. It's the way church. And our pastor would not sign with the other churches. They would not sign to condemn the Pride Parade. They just wouldn't do that. And then I just start pulling the threads on the side of this facade. And it's all what Andy Stanley's doing. Do I have a thank you, music can heal your soul? Do I want to call out Andy Stanley? Because that's exactly what he's doing. He's branding himself. He's word salad. He's the best word salad pastor. Okay. I brought up Andy Stanley. Then I promise we're going to end. It's a 2022 article on CNN.com. I think this is the one. Hold on. Just keep talking amongst yourself. I've got to find this. Ah, all right. Here's what CNN asked him. This is Andy Stanley. So if you don't know who Andy Stanley is, he has like 8 mega churches around the Atlanta area. He's the son of Charles Stanley, which is a big Southern Baptist person. But Andy's trying to ride the middle. So he's totally in the fence. He's got this modern vibe, wearing the jeans, the whole 9 yards. But guess who's a member of one of his churches? Marjorie Taylor Greene. And he's not ever once called her out. He just tells people to be nicer. He just tells people to be nicer, but never once has he called her out. People all the time want to tell me that their churches are so different. No, you call out that vile human being who has attacked every marginalized group, who's proud of her Christian nationalism. Well, where did she learn to be a Christian nationalist? And so we're supposed to believe that these churches are different, and yet they're not the ones that are calling her out. It's those of us who have left church, who have done it, who are doing it. So here's what the interviewer asks. You said in the book that when churches take a political side, they're already alienating half of the country. Are there political issues where a pastor shouldn't be neutral at the risk of being identified with a political party? The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. worked with the Democratic Party and a Democratic precedent to get the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Was he being too political? Was he wrong to align with the Democratic Party? All right. Those are the questions. Here's how he answers. When a cultural issue intersects with the teachings of Jesus, we definitely should say something. The problem is when we do that, which we should, we do that knowing that if I take a more left-leaning position on gun control, which I wouldn't, because in my mind, that's a very complicated issue. But if I did, then I realize that the Republicans in my church are going to put me in the bucket of everything that the Democrats believe, because there's no middle ground there. There's no nuance. It's tricky. As a pastor, I'm responsible for preaching the whole counsel of God, but talking about an issue is different than aligning with the party or aligning with the candidate. What the hell did he just say? What did he just say? Somebody please go look at this article from June 4th, 2022. It's on CNN.com. The evangelical church faces a state of emergency over the pandemic and politics, Andy Stanley says. What did he say? That's word salad. So that is an example of a mega pastor who's terrified of going down a social activism stage. Because let's be clear, especially where we are right now, these churches are 501c3s. No, you're not supposed to endorse a candidate, but you can stand up for social justice, which is exactly what they said when he brought up Martin Luther King Jr., who did align with the Democratic Party to bring about the Civil Rights Voting Act. Without Dr. King's involvement in it and pressure, that act would never have happened. And now you got Andy Stanley saying, well, my congregation would just not handle that. Who's going to be comfortable sitting in Andy Stanley's church? Well, apparently Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she's not called out on any of her behavior there. She's comfortable. That is how the branding of these churches are. They create this word salad that sounds like some kind of theology or doctrine, and absolves them from taking any responsibility because he doesn't want to alienate. No, he doesn't want to hurt his budget. So that's branding, that's marketing 101. That's part of the non-denominational thing. You got to move away from that. You got to brand yourself modern. You got to sound like you're really on top of all these issues, and then mean nothing. Mean absolutely nothing. So that's my rant for that today. No, not at all, left-leaning Lindsay. Not at all. Have I missed any? We're going to start wrapping this up. Have I missed any comments, Lynette? And I didn't, or Stacy did. I did not. Thank you, Shannon, so much for the gifts. Thank you all for all the likes and the shares. Oh my goodness, that helps protect these lives. I really do appreciate it. Please, the book is in pre-order, Deconstructing, Leaving Church, Finding Faith. It goes on sale October 8th. In a couple of weeks, I do start to record the audio book. We're going to do a couple of evening lives where we're going to try to focus on a specific topic. So we'll be talking about that later too. Yes, wish Lynette happy birthday. I do have a sacred conversation. Lynette, I don't have my computer reset again. So I have nothing. And I can't figure out how to get everything back on. That's just what happens. I do have, Lynette, what is the name of my sacred conversation on Thursday? So twice a month, I do a live teaching, and it's called Sacred Conversations. And I'm teaching on Thursday on something. But I don't know what it is. Thank you. Honoring your religious heritage without being held hostage to it. So, for so many of us, especially like Shiggles was talking about, what do you do with the Bible? What do you do? The question for me was, what am I going to do about Jesus? Like, I'm leaving this, but what am I doing? What am I doing with the love for my grandmother, who taught me everything about spirituality through the lens of Southern Baptist tradition? That's a good way to end this. Obi-Wan Kenobi comes in to let me know that women can't preach. Doggone it. Y'all, just forget everything I said. Just forget everything I said. Obi-Wan Kenobi just gave us a pass. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go sit out in the sun. I don't have to do anything now because I don't have to preach. I don't have to preach. All right, y'all. Thank you for very much. What if I don't want to forget everything you said? Hey, you stay right here. You stay right here. I used to sit in the pulpit and watch the pastors preach. I'm telling you, I was a little girl. I don't think I was even 10 yet, and I was just fascinated with them. That's why I didn't go to children Bible study. I would stay up with my grandmother. And I'd listen to every word. And there was part of me that would say, I can do this better. I can do this better. And you know what? I think I am. I think I am doing it better. What do y'all think? And I think my grandma knows that too. I dedicate my book to her. I do. Oh, this has been wonderful. Thank you all so very much. Yeah, we've been on high alert. We sure have. That's one side of the family coming out strong. That's right, sister. That's right, sister. Love to you all. Thank you very, very much. Tell me bye so I know you see it, and I will see you on, what's the trigger? Did I say something, Joko Pie? Did I say something? I don't want to say it again if it was me. I want to make sure. Bye, Shannon. It was great to meet you. You too, Jenny. I'm glad you were here. You're going to have to hang up first. I can tell because there's still 83 people in the room. Oh, you're okay. Okay. I think that I want to tell you, please say thank you to the mods. Please say thank you to Lynette and Stacy. I'm going to hang up, I promise, but please say thank you to Lynette and Stacy. They are keeping this. We're going to expand our mods. But because it's a little sensitive here with the topics, but please say thank you to them. They do an amazing job. And yes, sometimes they get tough, but they have to. They really have to, because especially now, my goodness, we're getting hit on all platforms and lots of stuff happening. And because of them and you, we're able to keep this a safe and sacred space. So I really do appreciate all. Another great live, and I will see you all soon. I mean it this time. I'm leaving. I'm hanging up. Watch. Okay. Did you ever do that with your phone? Bye. 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 I mean it. Bye, sis.